this afternoon. Yes, he's a young man. Well, I'm not too sure if he's a young or old man, but he has a youthful look. At this time, let us welcome Mr. Rohan Brown, manager at the Meteorological Service. Buenos dias, ¿cómo está usted? I wonder if he knows Spanish or he knows Spanish. I wonder what he knows.
Good afternoon, my friend, and how are you on this hazy Monday afternoon?
I know you're going to give me a touch of the weather. You're a classic, you know.
Can't but.
No, it's great to have you, my friend. When you say hazy, I wonder what is causing that haziness. Is it the dust from the Sahara Desert, or?
That is correct. There's a thick plume of Sahara dust that is
Yes.
moving across the central Caribbean, including Jamaica, and as such, today is going to be a hazy day, so too tomorrow.
So I must hide inside and also put on my mask.
Well, if you are prone to respiratory illnesses, I think you should. It is one of those days. I have mine when I go on the road. So the Ministry of Health has given some indications what to do in that regard. And I
Yes.
think it's something that we should all follow.
Good. Now, I want to learn a bit about you. We see you come on television sometimes, we hear the press releases and we read the press releases. But who is Rohan Brown? I wonder where is he from? You know, people love to know these personalities, you know, because when you like it or not, you're a public figure.
That I don't know about, but it's okay.
No, I'm telling you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So where am I from?
Yes, tell me about yourself. Where are you from?
Yeah, well, I'm from the beautiful parish of St. James, to be specific, Montego Bay. And as a child, I grew up in two areas, Saint
Yes.
Irving in St. James and Glendavon in St. James as well.
Boy, I saw the countryman them show off, and me a countryman too, so I love
Well,
to show off.
proud to be a
Yes.
Montegonian.
Which school you attended then? In the early days and after went to high school?
Oh, well, I went to Cornwall College. That's my high school.
Yeah.
That great school there in the West. And it was fun. I have fun memories at Cornwall College.
Mhm.
In fact, one of the reasons why I did my meteorology was because of one of my math teachers who introduced us to maths and the importance of maths. Miss Daly, if you're listening out there, thank you for introducing me to math. And mathematics is what got me sort of interested in meteorology.
But
So Cornwall College, great institution.
I thought you were saying individually, you know, anybody who teach maths and like maths, that must be insane. I mean, how did a teacher get you to love maths and you to love? It's just amazing. 2 plus 2, I always end up getting 22, you know.
No, she made math alive. So not only did she do the 2 plus 2 on the board, but she
Yes.
would talk about situations and circumstances, how you need to manage your money and how math's going to help you in the money, how when you own your business, how math's going to help you, how math's going to do this. So she made math come alive. And I think that was the difference. So it wasn't only on the board, but it was real-time practical demonstrations of how mathematics is important.
This is very interesting. So you have just said something there that many teachers out there should listen and probably learn from you. Now, tell me, how did you get into meteorology and why that area? I don't think very many people are getting into that area at all. I wonder if it's the
Well,
money.
I doubt it. But it's a confluence of factors. And I think the three main factors, if I could do one, two, three, was I was a child during Gilbert and I lived in
Oh,
Sine.
I
And
thought
there
you were going
was
to say you came into being because of Gilbert. Sorry, I misunderstood you.
yes, I was a child, and there I had a neighbor, and her name was Miss Ida. I cannot
Yes.
forget Miss Ida. And I was fascinated what could come and just take off Miss Ida roof. That
Oh
was something
no.
fascinating. And I was
Yes.
trying to figure out, as a child, I said, but why Miss Ida roof gone? And that continued, that curiosity, wanted to know why Miss Ida room or roof was taken off. That was one of the steps into meteorology as well, because I always wanted to know. And when I became old and realized that it was a hurricane that did that, I also wanted to know what were the factors and how could I help people. But additionally, my mother, whenever it rains, should always go on the veranda and look out. And I always got there with her. So from early, I was looking at the
You
rainfall.
look out.
Yeah, man, look out for the rainfall. So those two things. And of course, probably I used to see Roy Forrester on TV and he used to wear suits, and I
Ah,
always
Roy
liked suits.
Forrester.
So I will throw that in the mix as well. But those
Yes.
were the factors that allowed me to go down this path. And I chose this path from early, from in high school, from about grade 7 or grade 8, somewhere around there. I said I wanted to do weather. I didn't know it as meteorology. I always knew weather.
This is very, very interesting. So did you go, what do you, after high school, where did you go after that?
So two things. I went to the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, fresh out of high school, sixth form. Went
Yes,
to the Met Service, and then having gone to the Met Service as a meteorological technician, I understood the basics of meteorology, and then I actually made up my mind then and said, okay, this is what I wanted to do because I didn't want to jump into something I really don't like it afterwards.
right.
So I started out at the Met Service as a meteorological technician, and then I said, yes, this is what I wanted to do. And then I went to a great institute, well, three great institutions. But let me start. I went to the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology in Barbados. That is where most, if not all, of the meteorologists in the Caribbean are trained. And then I
Okay.
went to UA
So
to do a degree.
how long do you have to go to that institution?
So that institute was 18 months.
Okay, so
18
anybody
months
can just
of
apply and go there, or you'll have to be working with the
no,
meteorological office.
yeah, you'd have to be recommended by the Meteorological Service or have a
Okay.
degree in meteorology.
Okay.
Right. But it was the best because, for the most part, when they teach you meteorology, they talk about mid-latitude systems for the most part, systems that affect North America and Europe and so forth. But for the Caribbean, for tropical meteorology, they are
Yes.
the premier institute for tropical meteorology. And therefore, that is where I did my initial intake in meteorology. And then I went
Yes.
to UA, Cayville, Barbados, and also did meteorology as well.
So when you went to Barbados, you had flying fish and what they call it drink there again? Some
Of
say it
course,
tastes, but I
flying
love it.
fish,
Flying
yeah,
fish.
and some other stuff as well. I won't call them.
Why you get me into trouble, you know? But
Right, but
I
the Barbados, all I can say, if you're brave enough, you can survive in Barbados. That's all I will say.
so I think they have the conch there, the raw conch. I think they have it there too. They
Cuckoo.
call it cuckoo. They call it. I think they call it sauce in some
Yeah, and put it
Caribbean
on
country.
south. Put it on south.
Let me tell you. So they didn't pick up the Barbadian accent. A lot of people
No,
don't
no,
know,
no,
never been
no,
to
no, no,
Barbados.
no, no. I do not adulterate this
Yes,
Jamaican accent. I am Jamaican, and anywhere in the world I go,
right.
this is how I speak. I'm Jamaican. Proud to be, always will be.
Now you're a manager at the meteorological office. How long have you been working there?
Ah, for more than 20 years, for more than 20 years,
You still
yeah.
look like a teenager. It's amazing.
Well, I don't know about that, right? But
Yes,
again, when I left high school, I came and did some time at the Met Service
yes.
to make sure that this is what I wanted to do. And then thereafter, I dived in, deep dive, meteorology for the rest of my life.
You mentioned your love for mathematics. Is that a requirement for that kind of job? I say that because, quite a number of our students are not doing well in mathematics and also English. That's another thing I must say. All of you, all the meteorologists, you seem to be you speak very well, all of you. So,
Well, communication is part of the work. But let me go back to the requirements for meteorology because
yes,
of importance. The two main subjects for meteorology, mathematics and physics.
and
Those are the
physics.
two main criteria, right? Because what we do, we treat the atmosphere, we apply the laws of dynamics, all those
Mhm.
maths and physics. We treat the atmosphere as a fluid and apply thermodynamic laws to the atmosphere. So it's most times physics and mathematics. Some people say geography. Yes, you might need to know the continents and so forth, but it is the application of thermodynamics,
Mm.
dynamics to the atmosphere, which we treat as a fluid, and therefore maths and physics absolutely critical.
Because it is a science after all.
It is, it is, it is, it is. And you're analyzing the state of the atmosphere now and projecting it in future time. And therefore, it takes a lot of mathematics, physics, and of course, some amount of computer science. But math and physics, absolutely critical if you want to become a meteorologist.
Well, years gone by, I wonder how we function. Well, I do know in country, we just simply look up at the sky, mother say, but the sky get dark. There's no size, well, it's a size, so you observe it, rain is going to fall. Or you see some birds start to fly out. I say, see, why is them bird, they know, say rain going to fall. But it's amazing when there's a hurricane at sea, how they would know, we would know at all before the advent of meteorologists. I wonder how people
Well,
did. Yes.
let me go back. In the 1800s,
Yes.
there was a paper produced called Meteorologica, and it was circulated around the world. And therein, people were talking about observing the weather, observing the weather, observing the weather. And it doesn't matter where you are. That is the first basic principle of making a meteorological forecast. You have to observe the weather, right? And
Yes. Yes.
observations are done manually. So they're done visually, they're done by equipment. So for example, every hour on the hour here in Jamaica, somebody goes out and does a visual observations. They look at the clouds, they look at the visibility, they look at the present weather. Also, you have technology. So you use satellites, radars, automatic weather stations, and all of these sample the atmosphere and create information or data that is used as a starting point. So if you want to know the weather for tomorrow, you have to know the weather now. When you observe all that information is placed into supercomputers and they generate models that say this is the atmosphere now, and in the next 3, 6, 12 hours, the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, up to a month from now, this is what the
Yes.
weather would be or would be like. And therefore, those numerical models make our lives easier because those supercomputers do most of the calculations, and not only the calculations, but the graphical displays as well. So it is a complete science that requires observations right at this moment at the surface, all the way in the atmosphere, because we have weather balloons with what are called microsuns. And those suns sample the atmosphere all the way from the ground up to about 50, 60,000 feet. And they
What?
sample the
When they
atmosphere
come
as
back, you want to
well.
tell me more about that because I remember once see the balloon going up. I said, what about set up balloon and is that Christmas yet? And then I hear that balloon dropping at places and so on. I said, wonder what they should do with it. Listen, I thought you guys just come on radio and television. I just talk. I really, this is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, we're going to take a break and you're going to come back on after the break and you're going to probably tell us more about that balloon because I think it was Christmas. We're not celebrating too early. And you tell us about the science of it. How you know that a hurricane, I know the earthquake people can, well, they seem to be able to predict to some extent. But the hurricane is at this position and that position. It's just amazing. It's fascinating. Well, I must tell you, I was fascinated as a youngster. I wanted to know if I go up into the sky, how far I could go. And I also wanted to know if I went down into the earth, how far would I go? Well, I figured out if I go down to the earth and I could dig far enough, I'll come out on the other side because it's like a ball. But I haven't figured out as yet if I go up into the sky, how far I can go. And I think the scientists have not figured it out as yet. Gonna go for the break talking to Ron, learning a bit, and he'll be telling about trough. The only trough we know about that when you have feed pig, you have pig trough. And he'll be talking about highs and lows, high pressure, El Nino, La Nina. Well, I know that is Spanish. He'll be telling us more about that. So stay with us. There's quite a bit to learn for the man called Rohan Brown. Welcome back. Yes, you're listening to Spot On with Vernon Derby coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. It's been my guest, and of course, we're talking with Mr. Rohan Brown. Welcome back again, my brother.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
You're talking about that balloon. Tell me about that balloon because people say balloon. You're setting that balloon up in the sky. What you trying to do? Because it looks like madness to me.
Well, one of the ways to sample the atmosphere, whether it's the
Yes.
pressure, the wind speed and direction, the temperature, the geopotential height, the relative
Yes.
humidity, is that we need to sample from the surface and as far up as possible. And therefore, twice per day here in Jamaica, we put hydrogen in a balloon, that big, large balloon, and then
Yes.
we attach a microsun. And that microsun has sensors on it that it will sample the atmosphere all the way up to about 50,000 feet. It
Really?
will sample the wind, the temperature. It has hydrogen gas, so therefore it will stay a long time in the atmosphere. It will rise at a particular rate based on the amount of hydrogen you put into the balloon. And for the most part, after it is sampling the atmosphere, when it reaches at that higher level, it
Yes.
moves slightly offshore Jamaica. And as such, most times when the balloon bursts, they would come down in the sea and not necessarily overland. But that
Oh,
balloon provides critical information, not only for Jamaica, but for scientists around the world, because that data is placed into a data bank belonging to the World Meteorological Organization, that all meteorological and climate scientists around the world
yes.
share that information. So that balloon that you see going up is absolutely critical in sampling the atmosphere and predicting weather across Jamaica and the region.
So I never know. So who never know now know. Now help us now. How do you know that a hurricane is coming and you all predict it? I mean, this is unbelievable. How do you do it?
All right, so in the first place, we have satellite imagery for right across the world. But in our region, from the west coast of Africa across all the Atlantic to sections of the Pacific, we keep a constant watch via satellite imagery across the region to see if there's anything brewing or spinning. And most times you have tropical waves, another system coming off the west coast of Africa. So we monitor 24 hours. The Met Service is one of those entities that operate right around the clock, and we keep a constant watch on the atmosphere. And whenever we see like a tropical wave or a system, we always monitor. Additionally, we are a part of the regional specialized meteorological center for hurricane, and that center is a national hurricane center in the United States. So even though it is a United States entity, it is also designated as the regional authority, and they too keep a watch on the Atlantic. And there are times when they will send hurricane hunters to go and investigate. And therefore, with the scientific information, with the satellite imagery, and also with hurricane hunters that are that's aircrafts that go and analyze the atmosphere, then we are able to make an analysis from the information they provide. And that information is critical in determining the onset or the development of something that could become a tropical storm or a hurricane.
Now, another piece of madness, because as far as I'm concerned, you guys are involved in quite a bit of madness. I gather that they even send aircraft into the middle of the hurricane. How do you do that? How come the hurricane don't blow that aircraft out of the sky?
Well, two things. They fly in a crisscross pattern. And for the most part, they normally
Yes.
go as high as they possibly can
Okay.
above the storm, and then they gradually descend and they make a crisscross pattern intersecting the wind. So the flight itself is a delicate science because you just can't fly into the center of a hurricane like that. You have to
Okay.
approach it from a particular angle, do a crisscross, and also they drop sounds or they drop little boxes into the system as well that samples data within the system. So these drop sound provide information as well. So the radar on the aircraft, the observations done, the sensors on the aircraft, and the drop sound, all of those play a part in collecting the information. And of course, you have to have skilled pilots who have been flying for a good time now in order to navigate through those windy conditions and thunderstorms, rainfall, and lightning as well.
Boy, you said skilled pilot, I said mad pilots, because guess what? We sit out here getting all this information. I didn't realize it
but
takes so much work.
but may I say,
Yes.
they do that so that the information can be provided. So people
Yes.
like me and other meteorologists around the world can warn individuals that, hey, something has happened and you need to take action that could, one, save your life, two, prevent loss to livelihood and property and
Yes.
infrastructure. So they do something that is absolutely critical so we can warn others to prevent danger.
No. I want to hear about this prediction and what they call it now, climate change. When you're using all these terms and we hear them being bandied about, but I'm not too sure what it means. Climate change and it's affecting the weather. Help me understand. I hear you guys, you're able to now check to see what the sea temperature is like, and based on the sea temperature, you can probably predict what the weather and how many storms. Help me understand this one. Remember though, I don't have the mathematical skills, and when you tell me 2 plus 2, I get 22.
All right. There's a math class on Saturdays, but we'll talk about that after here.
I hear it.
but,
You're not going to help
but
me at this stage. Yes.
no, man, never say never,
Never
man.
say
Come
never.
on, man. All right. But
Yeah.
what is absolutely critical is that the technology nowadays allows us to do a number of things. Satellites can stay all the way up in the sky and sample the sea, and you can have information.
Sample the sea.
That is correct. Uh-huh. Um, boats. You have just like how you have drones, you have
Yes.
gliders, unmanned equipment that you can use remotely from a land base to sample the sea. So those are technologies and equipment that we use to sample the sea, and therefore we have an idea of the sea surface temperatures. And of course, unfortunately, the sea surface temperatures have been rising and they are above average. And when these sea surface temperatures are above average, especially during the hurricane season, they provide the fuel that start up one, but
Yes.
maintain systems like hurricanes and tropical storms. So those warm sea surface temperatures are absolutely critical for observation purposes and allow us to say, okay, based on the temperatures now, based on the environmental factors like El Nino or La Nina or ENSO, based on weak trade winds, then we're going to have an above active season or a below normal season or normal season. So these observations. And one of the good things that make our life easy is that around the world, there is a network of meteorologists within the World Meteorological Organization. And we share information every day, all the time. So right around the world, there is a body of people with access to everybody's information for the most part to make analysis and predictions and sampling the atmosphere. And therefore, these body of scientists, along with ourselves, help us to understand the environment, understand the climate, and make better predictions.
It's really amazing you're telling me about the warming of the sea, and I hear about these, what we are doing, because I sometimes believe that we are the most destructive animals on this earth, because I hear about the gases we are releasing into the atmosphere, and I understand. Help me, Master, because I just hear this information on radio and I am not mathematical. No, no, no. And I understand because of these gases, it's like what, a greenhouse, you call it? So I hear
That is
talk
correct.
about the greenhouse effect. So we're getting warmer because the average person on the road don't see how this affect them. So tell me how all of this is affecting us. So we just burn things and do all kind of things with the atmosphere, and we pollute it, and we say, sure, I know nothing. Even leaders do it, say, I know nothing.
And sometimes public education is absolutely critical. And
Are you
sometimes
doing
we
a good
spend a
job
lot.
of teaching us this afternoon?
Thank you very much, sir. And sometimes we spend a lot of time around the computer in the
Yes.
labs as technocrats talking with
Mm.
other technocrats. But sometimes we have to get out, get into the streets, find ways and mechanisms to communicate with people. And I think sometimes if you don't know, you honestly don't know.
Mm.
And sometimes when you don't know, you don't care either because it's something that affects you. But when you
We don't
can
care what we don't know,
break it
that's
down,
true.
yeah,
Mm.
but when you can break it down and say, hey, man, you see that gas, that thing what you're burning there, the gas from that thing is going to rise in the atmosphere, right? And that gas is going to allow heat to be trapped in the atmosphere. And when that
Yes.
heat is trapped in the atmosphere, here what going to happen, right? Your world going to become warmer. Your nighttime temperature is going to increase. Yes,
Yes.
ma'am. So you're going to have to sleep with more fan and more AC. So when you
And the
break
fan
it
just
down to that
blow
level,
pure hot air.
there you go. There you
Yes.
go. So when you can break it down to that level to let the man understand that what
Yes.
he's doing
Hmm.
Is not only about the greenhouse effect and global warming and all of that, but it is coming back to bite him in terms of it's going to make his night warmer, his days hotter. When he was a youngster, he could run up in the sun all day. Now his children have to drink more water because they're going dehydrated. So
Yes.
sometimes we have to break down the science in the simplest, purest form so that somebody could understand that that burning of that gas will make your life more miserable in terms of the heat. And therefore, if you could do something else, if you could do something to, instead of burning, recycle. So those two things, those public knowledge allows people
Mhm.
to be a part and take ownership of this climate change thing. So for the mere part, it's just a scientific word. But when we break it down, and that is one of the things that here at the Met Service we're trying to do, our public education campaigns, to meet the people, to talk with them, to one-on-one, so that they understand that at their level, it is going to impact them. As a child, I don't know about, well, I don't know where you're from, but I used to love the sea. When I just came to Kingston, I used to go to Hellshire. Hellshire many years ago is not the same Hellshire. So the erosion,
I tell you
seawater
what,
coming in.
you're very nice. You say it's not the same Hellshire. Well, I will tell the public Hellshire has disappeared. I don't know where it has migrated to, but Hellshire is no longer Hellshire. And if we continue to abuse the environment, you're not abusing the environment, you're abusing yourself. Because what will happen now, and I'm not a scientist, when you abuse the environment, and the environment will take care of itself. It will probably get rid of us, and we will no longer exist. It will replenish itself. It will probably take another 20 million years, and then life
But
will
it
have to
will.
start all over again. That's my prediction. So
Yes,
take
it
care
will.
of the environment, or it will take care of you.
And
Let me
it
take
will
a
indeed take care of you.
Right. Take a little break, take a little sip of water. We come back. We have another probably 10 minutes after that. We're speaking with Rohan Brown, and he's telling us, giving us information so we can understand. So when he comes and he predicts what the weather is going to be, we can know that he's not just being a prophet, he's a scientist, and there's a science to all of it. I'm Vernon Derby. This is Spot On. My very special guest is meteorologist, Mr. Rohan Brown. He's a manager with the Meteorological Service, right?
That is correct, sir.
Now, tell me more. We're right now, we start the hurricane season. How you know it's a hurricane a come?
Well, the environmental conditions are out there. It is one of the time of the year when we know that temperatures, for example, are rising. And we said earlier on that the temperatures are the ones that allow us to say, okay, the average temperature for this time of year is X. And when we measure and we sample and we see that the temperatures are higher than normal, then we have to say, okay, this might be active season. And for the season, again, in our release, we said we're expecting anywhere between 13 to 19 named storms. And that's a lot of storms because the average season, or our normal season, so to speak, would have 14 named storms, of which 7 should become hurricanes or three becoming major hurricanes. But for this season, we're expecting anywhere between 13 to 19 named storms, of which we're expecting 6 to 10 to become hurricanes. And of that, we're expecting somewhere between 3 to 5 to become major hurricanes. And therefore, for this season, it is absolutely critical that as Jamaicans, we pay attention to official information provided by the Meteorological Service, the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, or the government ministries in terms of if an hurricane is coming, what you should do. So for this season, hurricane preparation is absolutely critical. And it doesn't take millions, simple as cutting a tree. And when you cut the tree, don't put it in the waterway. You understand? Put it somewhere where either you're going to dispose of it properly or somebody could come and pick it up. Simple things like those. Having a hurricane kit,
But before you
flashlight, batteries.
the tree, let me just tell them, if the tree, well, for me, if it even 10 feet from the wire, they say it's less than that, but me sorry, me not going near it. So cut the tree them long before, because if the tree is too near to the wire, and while you're cutting it, a limb falls
Or
on
call the JPS.
yes, that is
Call
big.
the JPS. They are the experts.
All
So
right.
if there's an entanglement with live, electricity wire. They are the experts, so we
But
could
guess
call them
what?
to come and do it as well.
They don't not going to come to cut it. They're going to probably cut the electricity so you can cut it if it is in your yard because you have the responsibility to trim it. You
But they
continue,
are the
my friend.
experts. So once electricity is involved, they are the experts. So give them a
Yes.
call, and they will guide you
And if you don't
appropriately.
give them a call, you don't want a call from above.
No, 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 no. Life is too good.
Exactly.
Let's enjoy it.
Tell me about, you've mentioned about the possibility of all these hurricanes now, and I'm proud to tell my listeners that we have worked with other journalists and we have set up an emergency alert system. So the meteorological office, just like the police at ODPEB, it takes them a second. They go and they just take up their phone, they just make a recording, and it goes to all media houses immediately. And I'm proud to have worked with other journalists. Thanks to all the other journalists who have worked with me to set that up. So we are glad to have helped you with that, and you have started to use it already.
And may say, right? It makes no sense having the most accurate forecast. If
Yes.
that information is not in the hands of individuals to
Mhm.
make proper decisions, it's not worth
Mhm.
it. So therefore, the quickest, easily accessible way to provide information, that is what we're about. So when we make our great forecast or accurate forecast,
Mhm.
or sometimes, you hit and miss, but when you make your forecast, you want that information to be out there as quickly as possible, and it must be easily accessible by all. And again, this is one of the means by which we send our information as well.
But Ron, I hear talk about miss. What you call missing? I don't call it missing because all
Well,
you
well,
the miss is that you don't hit us directly. But when you
and
tell us that a hurricane is on the way, it is on the way. So all those
and
who want to sit down and believe say, "Oh, it might not come our way." When it hit one place, even a little breeze blow we get. Oh,
and that is one of the conversations that we always have. We
yes,
always say, hey, you might not get the 190 kilometers wind, right? But you
yes.
might get some rainfall, and that rainfall might create some flooding that might affect you. And therefore, once the authority says something is coming, take the appropriate action. So, for example, in Beryl, somebody in Kingston said, boy, not never happened with me there, But when he went to St. Elizabeth with us and saw the devastation there, he quickly said, me apologize. And I said, that is good.
Oh,
Because
no people
sometimes
tell me say that meteorological office. Them should be same say hurricane will come and no hurricane will come. Oh, I heard that too.
until until
Yeah.
until they're impacted and they say, oh my goodness, and they realize now that they have to spend millions of dollars or thousands of dollars for recovery. And if they had done this, if they had just take out some garbage out of the gully or the waterway, the water would not settle and flood the place. And now they're instead of at $2,000 to pay somebody to take out the garbage, they have to pay $2 million now to go and renovate and repair. And therefore, take heed. Take heed. A wise man takes instructions.
Well, they say what? You help me now when I try to remember what you say, go fail to prepare.
Or if you don't, if you fail to prepare, you would have prepared to fail.
Yes, you can help me. If you fail, come on, Vernon, get it right.
If you
If you
fail to
fail to
prepare,
prepare, prepare
you
to
would have been
fail.
prepared to fail.
Yeah. Tell me more about preparing now and what do you see happening because we are all of you have about a minute left. But your final word.
This hurricane season, right? Do not wait until a storm is coming to be prepared. Do as much as you can because anything can happen this hurricane season. We hear the numbers, we hear the figures, the statistics. But for us, what is important is one, because all it takes is the passage of one system across Jamaica or near the island to create significant damage to property, infrastructure. We could have the loss of livelihoods, and most importantly, the loss of lives. So this hurricane season, let us be prepared and listen to credible information from the authority and from natural sources.
Well, I mean, I say, oh, not chat foolishness again. The only thing I understand is the maths part of it. But more math students out there, please learn the math you hear because we need more consider Rowan. Him say him old, but him look young to me. Never can tell. He has to go. So we need more of you to get involved.
That is correct.
Rohan, let me tell you something. As thick as my head is, I learned quite a bit today, my friend.
Hmm.
But we're going to have you up
Yeah.
again, because we're going to have to talk about the trough, because as far as I am concerned, trough is where pig eat out of and all them. So you're going to have to tell him more
We
about it.
will have that discussion, sir. We will have that discussion.
Right. Thank you very much, my brother, Rohan Brown. You have a wonderful day.
Great to be here.